Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Mark Anderson opens up about asking children to date again. Mark Anderson has opened up about asking his children if he could date again. This is something he did not know how to approach or when the time was right. However, he has gone into more detail about the situation and let fans know what his kids had to say about him getting back into the dating world. There is a lot to unfold and uncover. Keep reading to find out more about this situation. His dating journey unfolds since his wife dies. Mark Anderson has had quite the journey when it comes to love. He was married to Denise Anderson. However, she sadly passed away in 2018 after battling breast cancer. This was hard for Mark and his family. However, years later, Mark decided he was ready to date again. After seeing his daughter, Kelsey Anderson, find love on The Bachelor with Joey Graziadei, Mark thought it would be great for him to go on the Golden Bachelorette. On the show, he fought for Joan Vassos's heart. However, they did not work out. Mark is now dating Barbara Alyn Woods. She is famous for her role in One Tree Hill. Mark Anderson opens up about asking to date again. Mark Anderson has opened up about the time he asked his children if it was okay if he started to date again. This is something he did not know how to navigate. While Mark was unsure how to approach this situation with his children, it ended up working out. He is in a happy relationship, and his children seem to be ecstatic for him. It seems as though Mark was nervous to ask his children if he could date again. He did not know how to bring it up. However, once he brought it up, he realized his children just wanted him to be happy. Mark's kids seem to like Barbara and her children. This is nice, so they can spend time together and it not be awkward. Fans love Mark and Barbara together and cannot wait to see more of them. What do you think about him being nervous about asking his kids? Mark Anderson isn't just the charming silver fox from the Golden Bachelorette. He's a father first. And while millions of fans have fallen in love with his warm eyes and gentle demeanor, it turns out the most important approval Mark ever sought didn't come from Joan Vassos or even the Bachelor producers. It came from his children. In an emotional and deeply personal interview, Mark opened up about the most difficult conversation he's ever had, asking his kids for their blessing to date again. I had to look into their eyes and be honest. Sitting down in a quiet Chicago cafe, just blocks from where he raised his family, Mark's voice softens as he begins to tell the story. There was a moment after my wife passed when everything was just silent, he says, pausing to stir his coffee absent-mindedly. The laughter, the chaos, even the fights, they were all gone. My home had turned into a museum of memories. Mark lost his wife, Elise, 7 years ago to a rare illness. And for a long time, dating was out of the question. I wasn't just grieving my partner, he says. I was grieving the life we built. Every corner of the house had her fingerprints. Every holiday, every joke, she was there. But as the years passed and his children grew older, Mark found himself wrestling with a new emotion, the aching desire to love again. I felt guilty for even thinking about it, he admits. I'd look at our wedding photos and feel like I was betraying her memory. It wasn't until he was approached by a casting producer for the Golden Bachelorette that he realized the depth of his hesitation. It wasn't about cameras or roses. It was about whether my kids would still see me as their dad if I tried to be someone else's partner. The family meeting that changed everything. Mark knew he couldn't make any decisions without a very real, very raw conversation. So one chilly autumn Sunday, he invited his kids, Amanda, 29, and Luke, 26, over for dinner. I made her famous lasagna, he says with a bittersweet smile. It felt right to honor her while opening the door to something new. The dinner started off light. Sports, works, stories from the past. But eventually, Mark cleared his throat and dropped the weighty truth on the table. I told them I had been approached for the show. That someone out there thought I still had something to give in the love department, Mark recounts. And then I asked them, no, begged them, to be honest with me. I asked if it would hurt them to see me with someone new, if it would be wrong of me to move on. There was silence, then tears. But they weren't angry. Dad, Amanda said, you've done nothing but give us love our entire lives. If you still have more to give, why would we stand in the way of that? Luke, the more stoic of the two, simply nodded and said, Mom wouldn't want you to be alone forever. She'd want someone to laugh at your bad jokes again. Mark tears up remembering it. That moment, their grace, their understanding. That was the green light I never knew I needed. The ghost in the room. Even with his kids' blessing, Mark admits the ghost of his late wife still travels with him. Every time I meet a woman, there's a part of me that wonders if Elise would have liked her, he confesses. I think she would have appreciated someone strong. Someone who can go toe-to-toe with me. She never let me win an argument, you know? On the Golden Bachelorette, viewers saw glimpses of that struggle. Mark was often the quiet observer, the man who spoke less but felt deeply. Now we know why. I wasn't holding back because I wasn't ready. I was holding back because I wanted to make sure I did it right. That I wasn't just chasing a shadow of my past, but creating something new. He credits Joan Vassos, the woman he's publicly been linked to since the season wrapped filming, with helping him see that new love doesn't mean forgetting the old one. She told me something beautiful one night. She said, love doesn't get replaced. It gets added to. That hit me right in the chest. Because I don't want to erase Elise. I want to expand on the love she gave me. And message to other widowers. Now, Mark says he wants to use his platform for something more meaningful than just romance on TV. I've had so many men reach out, men who've lost their wives, who are scared to date again, he says. And I tell them the same thing I tell myself. You're not betraying the past by embracing the future. You're honoring it. You're showing that love made you strong enough to love again. He adds that the most important part is including your children, not just out of obligation, but because their perspective is vital. My kids reminded me that I'm still their dad, no matter who I share my heart with. And they deserve to see that love can return after tragedy. What comes next? While Mark remains coy about the exact status of his relationship with Joan, he hints that something real and deeply grounded came out of their time on the show. She's seen me at my most vulnerable. I told her about Elise. I told her about the lasagna dinner. And she didn't run, she leaned in. Mark pauses and smiles. I think I have a second chance at something special. And I wouldn't have it without my kids' blessing. They gave me permission to live again. From Mark Anderson, love is no longer just about the past. It's about carrying the lessons, the laughter, and the legacy of his first great love, and having the courage to build a new one, brick by brick, with his children standing proudly beside him. As he stands to leave the cafe, a passerby recognizes him and waves. Mark returns it with his signature warm grin. But if you look closely, you'll see something else in his eyes, not just kindness or wisdom, but hope. Hope that love doesn't end, it evolves.